Hey, what's up everyone? This is Silver Slayer. Thank you for tuning into this video. I have a great video in store for you guys today. You definitely want to take notes. You definitely want to tune in. There's a lot that's already happened and a lot of stuff that's about to happen. I mean, we started from $11 silver in March, the US China trade negotiations, a global pandemic, gold breaking through its all time high at $2,000, silver 65% increase to almost $30. Then, not only that, $1 trillion stimulus packages, we have a US presidential election, and the holidays right around the corner. What does this mean? This means that silver has a lot of volatility and a lot of opportunity. See, this video is going off of opportunity. Some will call it greed, some will call it opportunity. It's glass half full, glass half empty. However you want to look at it. A word is just a word, but what you're doing, how you're trading, how you're strategizing, that's really what matters, right? So we're gonna dive into this. You can see extreme volatility here, but first, looking for direction. There has to be some stability. There has to be a foundation, and then we're gonna take things in the more of the gold side, and how gold is the best investment of the 21st century, and gold and silver, compared to Bitcoin, the Bitcoin boom, compared to stocks, real estate, everything else, gold and silver, the best investment in the 21st century. And I'm sure that a lot of people are going to I guess, doubt that, or um, try to tell you that that's wrong. Only, and this is the thing, only from a speculative aspect. Even if the numbers show proof that gold and silver have appreciated the most or whatever, people still, for some reason, look at gold and silver and just don't think it's a good investment. I don't know if the media has portrayed that, since it's a direct threat to the dollar, since it kind of goes against the grain, it's the rebellious type of investment, so people just automatically think that it's too risky. But I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. Let's jump into it. Silver forecast, looking for direction. The silver market will probably continue to be lifted due to the central banks around the world loosening monetary policy and the almost certain stimulus that is coming after the presidential election in the US. So, when we know there's stimulus, when we know they're pumping the economy full of dollars, that only means that gold and silver is going to go higher. The silver markets have rallied a bit during the trading session on Friday, but gave back the gains to show less than convincing momentum. At this point, the candlestick reached towards the 50-day EMA before pulling back, and now it looks as if we will continue to go back and forth because of the preceding hammer. That being said, the 50-day EMA does offer a bit of a psychological support and resistance, so perhaps pulling back from here could make the most sense. Regardless, this is a market that I see no interest in selling for any significant move, and it is very difficult to imagine a scenario where I would suddenly do that. And that's really important to understand. Sometimes the price is too high to buy, but that also means it's too low to sell. Holding is still a strategy. People think they have to be buying, selling, or trading. Sometimes holding off is the smartest, most profitable thing to do. You don't always have to be doing something. Doing nothing is still doing something in the investing world. So all that being said, the US dollar index will continue to be a major influence on this market. You should pay attention to what is going on with the greenback. And that's exactly what you need to be doing, essentially running a negative 0.9% correlation, meaning it's almost perfect in its opposite polarity. If the US dollar starts to fall, that does put a little bit of a demand for silver as a way to protect wealth. So they're saying it's almost a direct correlation. When the dollar index is low, gold and silver is high. When the dollar index is high, gold and silver is low. So yes, you definitely want to compare your forecast, where you're headed, or what whether you're planning to buy, sell, trade. You definitely want to see what the dollar's doing, because that can give a great glimpse into the future of the prices. So it does look like there are enough concerns out there, maybe the stimulus, that the US dollar should continue to strengthen a bit. And do you think it's going to, leading into the presidential election? There's a lot of promises, and there's two parties making lots of different types of promises to different types of people. And when that happens, there's a lot of speculation, there's a lot of confusion, a lot of uncertainty, fear, doubt, and that's not what the dollar runs off of. The dollar runs off of people having faith in the government. But I don't see how that could happen with such a chaotic, controversial election. I mean, look at, the debate. So I don't think things are going to get any better before they get worse. Now, I did want to go into this. This is the meat and potatoes of this video. Gold winning the investment of the 21st century. Now, I don't know if this is a legit statistic. It might just be, a food for thought. It could just be, someone saying that essentially it is. But regardless, in my opinion, gold is by far the safest, smartest, most profitable investment of the 21st century. People might say Bitcoin, but look, the Bitcoin run lasted, a year at most? Stock markets, very, very volatile. You have one or two, Tesla and Apple, or Tesla and Amazon, the only ones that really did anything. And real estate, nothing else really was stable that made or held its ground besides precious metals. So let's jump into this. The world is facing economic hardships we have not seen since the Great Depression. As a result of a full-scale fiscal and monetary stimuli, fiat money will start losing its value pretty soon. And that's just like we were talking about in the last article. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Both macroeconomic and geopolitical uncertainties will be additional drivers for the yellow shiny metal. Although many analysts are talking about the gold bubble, I disagree. In fact, the yellow metal is quite undervalued at the moment. For thousands of years, gold has played the role of a currency, not just a precious commodity used for making jewelry. The reserves of this metal are quite limited, and it's something no central bank can print more of. Although the gold prices have had a nice time this year, they are about to rally more. I believe this impressive growth should benefit ETF owners, including the SPDR Gold Trust ETF. And I like how he mentions this. He mentions a lot of types, a lot of good points. It's something central banks can't print more of. Money's something that cannot be created nor destroyed. Gold is literally made from a supernova explosion. And they even mentioned, it has had a great run, but there's still more room to run. Even after it broke through $2,000, there's still more room. And if we're looking at our silver stackers, imagine that, since silver is more volatile, hits higher highs. So, you silver stacker fans out there, my name is Silver Slayer, not Gold Slayer. There's a lot of opportunity and potential. When we talk about gold, you have to talk about silver as well. When you talk about silver, you got to talk about gold. So gold price, the Fed, and the current economic situation, this pandemic has had a dramatic effect on the world's economy. The central banks all over the world had to respond with almost unprecedented monetary easing, right? They were forced to, and this exposed the U.S. dollar of being extremely weak, countries opting out of the U.S. dollar being the world's reserve currency, and that's dangerous. That's very dangerous waters because the US dollar isn't really worth anything. It's based off of how much people think it's worth. So if people start to think it's not worth much, it literally won't be worth much. And we can get into some really, really big problems at that point. Now, the US does own the most gold. So if we were looking at a literal term, a literal sense of value, the United States does have the most value. But a lot of people don't look at it from a precious metal standpoint. They're looking at how strong the dollar is. The most obvious example was the US. The country's debt to GDP ratio is near record highs now. To finance the fiscal stimuli, Federal Reserve had to raise its balance to all-time highs. So, as we all know, we are in a situation of zero or even negative rates, which is further complicated by extensive quantitative easing, or also called QE. Certainly, this too shall pass. When will it finally be over? Not yet, I suppose. And that's what we need to remember. Things are not over yet. We are not really in a recovery mode yet. We're still in the mix of things, and still, like I just said, things could get worse before they get better, especially especially depending on who wins the election for several different reasons. Uh, Things are going to get interesting, very interesting. Even before the even before the global pandemic, last year I was talking about this is going to be an explosive year for precious metals simply because the presidential election and how much controversy it causes. Remember 4 years ago, all the riots and chaos and uncertainty and fear and panic. That is all key factor stuff to cause precious metals to skyrocket. So governments maybe consider another lockdown, which will complicate the situation even further. The infection rate might spike in the U.S. too. So there's a lot, and this alone will lead to more money printing, which is going to make the dollar even weaker. Because think about it, we're throwing all this money in the economy at these people, but where is it coming from? It has to be coming from somewhere, and we are $27 trillion in debt. It's not coming out of our profits. It's coming out of money that we don't have. It's like trying to pay off a credit card with another credit card. It's gonna catch up to you. You're gonna catch up to yourself eventually. So they're talking about there is plenty of uncertainty due to the elections. Some experts say the election result may be contested. What's more, some argue that there might even be a violent outbreak, and that's definitely possible. So these additional measures will lead to fiat currency's further devaluation. This situation is highly bullish for gold and silver. Do you see do you see the pattern here? Everything that could happen, that might happen, that looks like it's going to happen, is all bullish for gold and silver. When you're investing into something, you got to look at where the price is headed. Is there potential, or does it look like it can be bear? Gold and silver, looking forwards, it looks like it's the most obvious, blatantly obvious investment with the most potential. So buying tangible asset, buying the physical investment. If you can't hold it, you don't own it. Saying of the stackers. He says, he did explain fiat currencies are devalued. Does not mean we will face hyperinflation. After all, we did not face that problem during the Great Recession after the Fed eased its monetary policy. However, the very expectation of high inflation and deep economic crisis might take or make investors quite skeptical of fiat currencies, and they might be reluctant to buy stocks and corporate bonds, and that's definitely true. When people don't trust the government, they're not going to trust the companies or investing in the stock market, and they might turn to gold and silver, a safe haven. When people don't or fear the government or economic uncertainty, they turn towards a real tangible asset, which is precious metals. It could be even cryptocurrency, but seeing how risky, how inconvenient cryptocurrency could be, that might still be one that people don't want to risk. So, and that's they even said that, which will be demanded, Bitcoin, altcoin, no idea. People wouldn't know either. So it's looking like more than likely gold and silver. There's no gold bubble. Some people might be thinking that gold has no further potential to rise. After all, the rally has already been breathtaking. Now the bubble has further potential to run. We are not talking about the gold bubble. There have been many bubbles in history of investments, and they talk about 1630s and all these different times, 1929, and so many things. But the whole point is that when we're looking at two periods, we have to strip away what's happening during this time. If we're looking at $24.50 silver, that does not mean the price is $24.50. That just means that's what it's currently priced at. That's what you can currently buy it at. That doesn't mean that an actual ounce of silver is worth that much. It's worth a lot more. A lot more. Think of the true value of silver. It's actually unknown. Because any time throughout history, it's always been pegged on that specific time in history. But if we look forwards, look further, stripping away stock market volatility, stripping away the dollar index, where would gold and silver be naturally? It could be a lot higher. So here's the conclusion. Gold has much further to run as the fiat currencies get devalued. The economy is not out of the woods yet, and many investors will flee from uncertainty and risk. I believe it is not too late to invest in gold, and that's so true. You didn't miss the boat yet. You will be soon, though. I especially think going into next year, you gotta get your stuff together, get your portfolio ready. Gold and silver, definitely the key players, the primary drivers in that. So I'm going to wrap this video up here. I hope you enjoyed this video. The 2 links to these articles will be in the description. Check out more videos coming soon. This was Silver Slayer. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys soon.